second language, isn't it? Just keep it that way.
English is my third language. Following Spanish.
I can't help myself. I'm back on mute. Sorry, bye.
Some people, you mute them and they're like a gorilla in a cage. They find the gate to open it. Not to worry about these things. This is Tubules Live Together, week 6. And it's been a phenomenal journey. A really, really awesome journey to include various groups of people, to bring different groups, and not just dentists, but we've brought together associates, we've brought together practice managers, we've brought together people in finance, we've brought together accountants, we've brought together IFAs, we've brought together business coaches, we've brought together even entertainers, we've brought together cooks, we've brought together wine tasting experts. We brought together talent in dentistry last Saturday. This has been Tubules Live Together. In a crisis, every community, every profession, every area needs a community that gives them solace, that gives them inspiration, that gives them that togetherness. And in dentistry, Tubules try to be that community. 6 weeks, every single day, we've been giving you some sort of learning that is either clinical mastery, or should we say professional mastery, some level of financial mastery, or personal mastery. Because whatever you take now will set you and get you going on the track as you get back into practice. There has been talk about getting back. We know at some point we will have to get back. And in this group, there is one that is very, very important. And that group is the trainees. The people on training pathways, whether it's foundation dentists, or whether it's the core trainees, or the STRs, they have all had some impact on their training. And therefore, we've brought a group today who will share their insights, their mindsets, and what they're going through. Because remember, you may be in isolation, but you're never alone. It's all about dentistry being together. And in that way, let's first talk about today's Dentistry Together video. Mind you, the person who is first on that video is actually a guest on tonight's show. So you get to see her in 2 forms. Enjoy.
Isolation doesn't mean loneliness.
Uncertain doesn't mean unpredictable.
Challenges mean opportunities.
Time out means a time to reflect.
A time to come together.
A time to work together.
A time to support each other.
A time to inspire each other.
A time to change the way we think together.
A time to learn new things together.
A time to educate each other.
A time to gain personal mastery.
A time to gain our financial mastery.
A time to gain clinical and professional mastery.
A time to believe.
Believe that together we will come through this.
Believe that to restart will reignite a new beginning.
Because when we work together,
we will
motivate, grow, thrive together. Dentistry together.
Tubules together.
Yep, it is Tubulites together, always, because togetherness creates the fun. It's Thursday, it's almost the end of the week, and normally it isn't this long before Zach appears on screen. This has been a week when he's taken a break. How are you, Zach? Can you hear us? Well, he's now on silence somewhere.
Yeah, I just thought I'd just let it linger for a couple of more seconds and see if you if you got wound up even slightly. I'm on a bit of a mission with a wind up today. I wound up Ryan earlier on about he messaged and said, "Where's this Zoom link so we can all have this chat?" And I went, "It's next week, mate." So I'm having a good time. I'm having a great time in lockdown.
I can see that. Well, I think because you haven't been, it's like it's frustration, Zach. Basically, you've not had a chance to host a show this week.
Gorilla in a cage. Yeah,
Gorilla in a cage, pretty much.
I haven't been on for a week. That's been fun. A non-Tubules week, but I've been listening and watching as usual. I
know.
Yeah, it's been good.
Have you missed the hosting?
Yeah, I have. I think I need a new career in media after this, Drew. What do you reckon?
Radio. What's
Pipe down.
What brought today's topic on, Zach? What brought today's topic on?
What brought today's
We're
topic on
discussing
is...
trainees.
Well, yeah, and welcome to another Tubules live together in isolation. You loving it? I'm really going to miss this next week, going forward. So maybe we need to do something. Drew, you reckon we should just keep this lingering on in some fashion, a live together of some description? We'll get to that.
I think so. We've got to keep inspiring people.
We'll
There's
see
no
what
doubt
happens
about that. We
Yeah.
have to keep
So
doing
if
it.
you've been
But,
anything like
Saturday,
me,
I will reveal it all on Saturday.
Yeah. Do you know what? Should we? Yeah, actually, let's give a little sneaky peek at the end of this. So keep watching to the end. We'll give you a little sneaky peek into what might be happening going forward as well. Yeah, it's been a bit of an emotional roller coaster over 6 weeks, hasn't it? If you're anything like me, it's been shock, denial, anger, frustration, maybe sadness at times. But then you've got these kind of light bulb moments in your head, and you feel like you can solve problems, and you've got this strategy going on. And Nat, I'll introduce Nat and some others, I guess, tonight in a second. But Nat and I had a chat the other night, and she said, I love your whiteboard on your wall. And I'm a big whiteboard kind of guy. I need to just plan out the future kind of thing. And so, yeah, I've had these light bulb moments where I go, do you know what? There's opportunities in this challenge. And I can't wait to see what happens, really. Yeah, it's
I've been
evolved.
excited
Anyway,
since my practice shut down. 6 weeks, I thought of brilliant thinking. So listen, I'm going to disappear away, and it's your show.
Bye.
Let's have a good
Adios,
fun.
amigo. We'll catch up with you in an hour. Thanks, mate. So yeah, for those of you who have watched our conversations over the last 6 weeks, you'll know that the vibe of Live Together is exactly what it is that you're about to see. Well, it's all about togetherness, obviously. So thank you for joining us, making this what it's been. These conversations have proven yet again that collaboration and selfless sharing is what makes Tubules the wonderful community that I've always known it to be. Some people have been a bit skeptical, thinking it's some sort of cult, but really it's not. And it's just about having people together that believe what we believe. So look, it's that recharge and ready to go thing that I'm hoping you get from tonight too. If you've seen these before, you know how it works. Just pop a comment in the live chat below. Apologies if I'm pointing at anybody's head, but yeah, at the live chat box underneath that, say hello, tell us who you are, and actually want to know tonight where you are in terms of stage of your career, if you can hear this right now, and you'll know why in a second. The reason why is because the stage of your career, I've got a funny feeling we might have some other dentists joining us who this hasn't been resonating with in the last few weeks. If you've been watching and you listen to the conversations between associates, between principals, between business strategists, maybe it hasn't really rung true with you. It's not been speaking to you, probably because it's not relevant yet. So if you're watching this as an undergrad, maybe you're getting a bit of an insight into what's happening in the future, what might be to come in your career, or you're a DFT. I just learned a few days ago that it's called DFT, not DF1 anymore. Thanks for keeping me up to date, guys. DCT, or maybe you're somebody who is a dentist in specialist training or considering specialist training still. That might be the ideal way forward. So hopefully we've got a bit of insight from all of our guests tonight. Dentistry is going to change, like the world is going to change, undoubtedly, but we need to know how it might change and what it means for you in your career journey. So yeah, let's hope some of these answers, these questions get answered over the next hour or so. If you've got any specific questions, drop them in the live chat box below. I can see some responses coming in already. Thanks, guys. So to our guests, here we go. This evening, they aren't really guests, actually. They're more Tubules leaders, because I know all of these guys, having taught a couple of you guys when you were in BDS, 5th BDS, last couple of years, and Sumer, who's just been Tubules through and through over a long time. Guys, actually, why don't you introduce yourselves very briefly? Give us the shotgun intro rather than that weird, seminar intro where you walk into the room and you have to give your life story for about a minute and a half. Don't do that. Weird, bit awkward, isn't it? So just give us a quick, Assis, start with you. Who are you? Where are you working? What position are you in?
I'm an FD in East Warren, so KSS South. Was redeployed, now Nightingale's over, so not redeployed now, so just trying to figure out what's actually going on with me now. We're not really sure yet, but I'm in isolation, so.
You're in isolation because of?
Being in Nightingale, yeah.
Okay, because we've got Nightingale. Okay, we'll come on to Nightingale in a minute, because that's going to give us a bit of context for others whom are being redeployed and maybe got that on the horizon at some point. Gurpreet?
I'm a foundation dentist working in High Wycombe, and Sumer's my TPD. So can we move on to him?
By the way, if you're watching this and you're maybe a practice principal and you're watching this because you want an insight into how your future associates might be kind of what's in their headspace. TPD is Sumer.
Yep.
What's a TPD?
Training Program Director. They run
Thanks very much.
What used to be called VT Advisors.
VT advisors, right? Okay, so back in the day when we used to think of VTs, that was normal. Okay, got it. So where are you at TPD?
So I've been involved in foundation training for nearly 20 years, 10 years as a TPD now, but that also involved a couple of interim roles as Associate Dean in London. But I've settled down. I'm in Oxford as the Oxford Thames Valley and Wessex Deanery, or Health Education England, Thames Valley, Wessex. I'm the TPD for the Oxford scheme. But I'm a general practitioner, 3 practices. I'm the senior partner of 3 practices, one in London, one in Oxford, one in Essex.
Cool.
Chess and private.
Stay tuned and keep watching, because Sumer's got some future vision that he wants to share. So that might be insightful in the next 45 minutes, half an hour or so. We'll come to that. Nat and Ryan, we haven't said hello yet. Hello, guys.
Hey, you all right?
Who wants to go first? Ryan, you've spoken first. Where are you? What do you do?
So I'm in Liverpool. I'm doing oral and maxillofacial surgery. I'm a DCT2. I'm currently working at Alder Hay. And I'm also the vice chair of the Untitled Tubules student committee.
Awesome. And a great job with it you do too. And interestingly, you've got a future career path which is fairly set, because I'm
going to medical school in September, back down to London.
You absolute fool.
I know, yeah.
No, one of my best mates is said this to you the other day, didn't I? In reg position, Max Fax reg position, and yeah, wow, it's a journey. But good on you, and massive respect. So we'll come to some of your insights in a minute. Really valuable insights. I know that you've got. Nat Brads, you're somebody we all know.
Thanks, Zach.
Anyway,
infamous. I'm a specialist registrar in special care dentistry, based in London and the South East. I'm the Joint Study Club Director for London, and I'm currently doing a Master's in Special Care Dentistry as part of my training. So I'm kind of like a trainee and a postgraduate student at the same time.
Awesome. Got some really interesting insights coming from that about coaching, mentoring, and what it might mean for the future of training pathways. So, okay, let's dive into this, guys. GURPS, Assis, I don't know who wants to start first. You'll have to fight it out.
Before we start, I have to make this announcement quite clearly that none of these people have been paid or given any financial remuneration. They're doing this for their time. They're doing it for sharing. They're doing this for the right reasons.
I'm not sharing, just to clarify. I'm interpreting for the rest of the audience who have no idea what all these 3-letter acronyms mean. So yeah, hopefully I'll be a bit of a go-between, and hopefully it will make sense to people who aren't in a training pathway of any nature. But yes, thank you for that, Drew. Voice from the gods out there.
Yeah.
So guys, Assis, Gurpri, I want to know, how was DFT going for you pre-lockdown? What was your headspace like?
I was getting the hang of it. I was really enjoying it, and kind of going to spend the last 6 months trying to build my portfolio, try and take more photos. That didn't happen. So I was planning to, but now I'm not.
I was having a great time. We just come back from Chicago, going to the conference in Chicago, which was amazing.
Sumer with the thumbs up there, knowing that was a trip that he had to get in during your DFT.
And then slowly getting back into form, and going ahead with how things were going before all of this stopped.
So where are you now? So I want you to give us a bit of insight into what redeployment's like, because you mentioned that a second ago. So tell us more.
There was nothing that was told to us about it. It was just kind of, you're doing it, okay, cool. So it was more just bumbling in the dark, trying to figure out what to do, and just kind of making it up as I went along, really. So I tried to ask everybody.
Give us a bit of context. You were redeployed to Nightingale.
Yeah. So we all did, I think everyone in London, Kent, Surrey, Sussex did a form to volunteer. Okay. And then we did, some of us have done induction, some of us are still doing induction, just in case it does open up again. Hopefully it doesn't. And then I started about a month ago, and was just helping bedside with patient care, helping doctors, helping the nurses.
Okay, well, I tell you what, it's an insight that you might not ever get again in DFT. So what's it? Has it changed your perspectives on things,
very
or
different.
what are you feeling about the working world post redeployment?
I think, in a way, it's kind of just opened up the perspective of just life and just kind of thinking about what matters. So like, before I'd be like, oh my gosh, I haven't got the right shade, or like say it was an A1 and A2, I'd be freaking out over that. And now I'm like, okay, that's something I can manage. It's not an emergency situation. I don't need to stress about that. There's people that are actually like really ill. So it's put things into perspective a lot. But it has given me
you a bit more life
appreciation
experience that you
well, in the same way.
Amazing. So a bit more appreciation and
really
a bit
important in intensive care patients as well. So I learned that as well.
So what was your future plan post DFT, and has it changed?
It hasn't really changed that much. I did want to still do DCT, but again, it depends if I get it or not. That I don't know about yet.
Okay. So DFT to DCT is a conversation that we'll come on to in a second. That's interesting. Yeah. Gurpreet, what did you?
With myself in regards to redeployment, I feel like one of the biggest things has been, there's been a lot of uncertainty over who's going to get redeployed, where are they going to get redeployed to. There's a number of places that people are getting redeployed to, so hospitals or 111 call centers or working in urgent dental centers. At the moment, within our scheme, we haven't been redeployed as of yet. So my only experience has been triaging over the phone call, which has also been a great sort of learning curve, taking part in that role. With regards to the future, I pretty much always have been set on working as an associate. Recently, as I mentioned at the Student Congress as well, there was a thought to say maybe I should have applied to DCT, because there's always this thought of having a salaried position. Who knows what the future is going to hold? But I overcame that very quickly, and I think I'm quite focused on getting an associate job and then going forwards with regards to that.
Okay. Sumair, is this what we're seeing across DFTs around the country, or is redeployment? Give us a bit of context in terms of redeployment, because Assis has obviously done it.
There's always that choice. The foundation dentists coming into primary care from undergrad is always a big step anyway. But then during the undergrad year, their progression is accelerated considerably. Most of them have tripled the quotas that they did in terms of crowns and endos within the first 3 months that they had done as undergrads. So their learning curve is exponential, and that's especially so in the second 6 months, which is what was kicking off when the lockdown happened. So these guys have almost got to the point where they're ready to accelerate in terms of their development, clinical, professional, leadership management, all of it.
And do you see this on your regular basis when you touch base with your crew? What are they called? Not called a crew, are they?
Yeah, they're my crew, the Oxford crew.
Okay. So you'll see.
Scheme would be the right word.
Yeah.
Okay, scheme. Thank you, Assis. Cheers.
But they're a
so
scheme.
out of touch.
They're the Oxford scheme. So the idea is that as a scheme, we meet together, but I also monitor their reflections and their workplace-based assessments and their clinical activity in a portfolio.
Okay.
So that's how I know their numbers wise. And they just had what they call an interim review, an IRCP, at their 6-month mark, where we looked at how many UDAs they'd done, how many complex treatment items they'd done, crowns, molar endos, chrome dentures, surgical extractions, etc. And those that were below the mark at that time were told they need to pick up and hit the target by the end of March. Unfortunately, in the middle of March, this happened.
Lockdown happened. Yeah.
But in terms of DCT, we always have at least about 30%, 40% that are wanting to do DCT, and I'd say about a third of those people want to do it because they don't want to be in primary care. They don't want to be chasing media, and they just want a salary position. Yeah.
And in what way would you say? Let's try and put some meat on the bones here. In what way would you say that COVID, maybe across the spectrum of dentistry, the profession as a whole, all DFTs in the country, do you suspect that might increase the number of people choosing DCT positions or reduce?
Yep, it has increased. We have a second round of recruitment. They moved so the recruitment to DCT is now all based on a situation judgment test. That testing, the dates are between, it says
1st to the 19th of June.
Yeah, 1st to 19th of June, I think. But it's open now. For applying for that, and so they will be doing that recruitment. Oh, yeah, it's on this page. Sorry, yeah, SJD 1st to the 17th of June. But the applications are open now. So yes, there is a whole load of people who think, because no one knows what primary care dentistry will look like. Having said that, no one knows what DCT will look like either.
Yeah.
In this non-AGP world, if you think about, if you're going to go to a DCT post where you think you're going to be doing lots of surgery and like prepping and things like that, that's not happening in the non-AGP world, not for at least 6 months. So until we get the vaccine out, until testing is ramped up and vaccines are widely available, normal dentistry isn't going to happen either in primary care for the associates or in secondary care for DCTs.
Yeah. Tell me something. I want to go a little bit deeper than that. Let's not talk about just numbers. How did you sense, or how do you sense at this point in the year, the feelings and the emotions of your DFT crew? I'm going to still stick to crew. I like crew. How would you feel? How do you sense they've changed over that time? And how might it affect, or what advice would you give them with regards to mindset going forward?
To be fair, I mean, Oxford is different to London, okay, where I've been for many years. Oxford is much, I just feel like it's much more empathetic towards FDs and trainers. And we have always had a more holistic view. And I have to say, of my 14 that I have, more than half of them are ready for primary care already. Okay, even if some of their numbers don't stack up. There's only about 2 or 3 out of my 14 that I say if they went into primary care now, they may struggle. And it's only because of underconfidence, because they haven't done the numbers of the like veneers, crowns, posts, whatever it is. But generally
across the board,
they're okay.
So the reason why I'm asking this is
most FDs after about 6 months are probably safe to go into practice. The majority of FDs nationally.
Right.
There's about 808 of them. The problem is that now, where they would gain that confidence in the last few months, running up to the end of July and August, into August, where they gain most of their confidence to go into general practice from the 1st of September, they are now in lockdown.
The reason why I say that is because when I was clinical teaching, on the shop floor as a clinical teacher for fifth year students, there came a time when all of the students, you just see it. It's just past Christmas, and I think we all remember that moment where you're like, "Shit, I'm going to be a professional soon," and you just see that. It's like, I wouldn't call it a swagger, but I just call it kind of the shoulders go back a bit, and you're like, "I can do this. I'm going to have a job." And by the way, I've just finished loads of stuff and I've passed loads of stuff, and I've got final exams to go, and I can do this. I'm totally on it. And do you know what? There must be that moment too, which we all had at some point. Ryan, Nat, do you remember that moment when you were kind of bridging the gap between DFT and a bigger, wider world?
Yeah, a while ago.
That long ago, Nat. How many years?
Like 6 years ago.
Oh, so old. You're so old. Go on, Ryan. What were you going to say?
I felt like a bit of a snowball for me. It just kind of happened, and then all of a sudden there you are, your first day in practice, and there's no trainer next to you anymore. They're upstairs in the surgery. But you're right. I think, you do get to that point where you just start thinking a bit more like a professional. And then in FD, I think there's that. It always seems to be after Christmas, doesn't it? And then that kind of switch flips. And I think I looked at my numbers, and I did probably 2-3 times as much stuff in the last 6 months of my FD as I did in the first 6 months. So you're right. It does kind of ramp up towards the end.
So you did DCT1 in what, mate? Give us a bit of background again.
So I did my DFT in Bristol, and then I went back to London. I did my DCT1 at Eastman, Great Ormond Street, and University College Hospital, and then I went to Liverpool. Did
you already at this point kind of have an idea that you were going to head down the road of MaxFax?
Yeah, so I get asked this quite a lot, and I really wanted to do MaxFax even from the very start of dental school. And as I went through dental school, I got a lot more open-minded, and kind of, I think if you'd asked me at the start of DFT and the 5th year, I probably would have told you that I wanted to do restorative. Did my foundation year, I really loved everything that I did lots and lots of good restorative stuff. And I said to myself, I would do a year in MaxFax, and then for the skills, and also because I knew that I wanted to do it before, and I thought that I would regret having not done a year in it. And then after having done, probably 6 months in it, I was convinced at that point that, that was the career that I wanted to do. And then because I applied to another MaxFax year after that, I think it just shows the benefits of being open-minded and trying lots of different things and not pigeonholing yourself too early on.
And that tends to be the beauty of DCT, is that it opens up for those who have only been in primary care or only ever been in hospital as undergrads. It opens up their mind in terms of what specialist training is about, what specialists do in hospital, what hospital dentists get up to, that type of thing. You're never going to be exposed to that if you don't take the opportunity to do DCT. Having said that, we've now made it easier. So GURPS, for example, can go into practice this year and apply for DCT the year after or the year after that as well.
Yeah, it's a different vibe. I think it's good that it should be accessible at later points. I think
much more flexible.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important.
I think that's a fantastic opportunity because I always had this mindset of hospitals not for me. I find the prospect of going straight into practice quite attractive, but we've not had much experience. And I think if we have this whole year, and then there's still an opportunity available, that's fantastic for us because you can always decide you want to change pathway and go down the pathway.
And that's really.
If you ask Natalie now, she'll tell you how many of the specialty trainees that go into specialty training just cannot stand the treadmill of general practice and having to do UDAs. And some of them just escape that after 2 years. GURPS, if you were doing UDAs and you had to do like 5,000 UDAs working 5 days a week, 9 to 5, and it was just like, I mean, enamel and bone and hitting the walls in the surgery all day long. So you could hit those 5,000 UDAs. A lot of people just go into specialty training just to get the hell out of that environment.
Yeah, a lot of people I work with, not every single one, but a majority of them have had one bad year in practice with their CFT trainer, and then they go, I don't like practice. This is my one experience of practice. Let's go and do a DCT year. And then it's like, oh, this is better. I prefer it. And so I'm going to be a hospital dentist. I've got to specialise to stay here. It's just, it's the same as if you go in to have one bad associate job, then it's like, okay, well, that job's not for me. Then I will go down and find another one. And you're never going to find the perfect practice job first time round, especially if you don't build that relationship with a good mentor. So if you have a bad relationship or not the best relationship with the person who's supposed to be mentoring you through this year, when you're developing the most exponentially throughout your career that you will be, then clearly that's going to put you that environment in a bad light, when actually there's lots of opportunities if you find the right place and the right people to help and support you, and you can grow in that career in that environment, not necessarily just going on to work in a hospital and specialise.
So what you're saying is that you don't have to just move away from pain. What the great philosopher Dr. Drew Shah once said to me, you don't have to move just towards your you should always move towards your pleasure. Don't just move away from your pain. Don't just move from practice into DCT just because it seems like a safe bet. But do you think people's mindset might have changed in COVID because of this?
I definitely think so. I feel like pre-COVID, there's always this sense of you're running, you do DFT, you either go into DCT or you do some sort of restorative diploma, and you're running, you don't know what you're going towards, you're just running because everyone else is running and doing the same thing. What I found very helpful during this time is it gives you time to reflect. Everything's slowed down. You think about what's really important and what you're really passionate about, and you can really take time to plan your career going forwards rather than doing something just for the sake of everyone else doing something.
It's harder, isn't it? Hard to run your own race when you see everybody else in a different light because they present a certain thing online. And, even I think, to be honest, the closest friends, but I've only really got a couple of very close friends who are still my best mates from university days. And it's only those who will let you through the barrier. It's only those who will really give you a true insight into what it feels like on a day-to-day basis. Because a lot of other people just will give you the facade, won't they?
My best mate from university, on the face of it, you look at him, he has the ideal job that he absolutely loves, and that's how it would appear outwardly. And he's earning a lot more than I am, that's for sure, doing what he's doing. But I speak to him, and all he ever says is, I can't. I'm dreading going into work on Monday, that kind of thing. I can't wait until I've made enough that I can do something else, that sort of thing. It's not always as kind of serene as it seems sometimes. You've got to realise everyone's running their own race, aren't they?
Definitely. Now, what would you say to Gurpreet and Assis in their position? COVID's just hit, right? Rewind 5 years, 6 years, wherever you are. Take yourself back into their shoes.
I think, yeah, I mean, shit hit the fan. It's not great. But what have you learned? What opportunities have arisen? And as Gertrude said, it's a really good time to reflect. I had a dental student write on my blog yesterday, and it was really nice to see that actually she said that this period of downtime, getting away from the clinical aspect, has made her find her why again and why she liked dentistry. Like, she's still interested, she's still keen to learn. She tunes into all the online webinars, has the time to be able to explore her interest in dentistry. And we should all be finding that time to do what we don't have time to do because we're so busy to seeing patients normally. And that could be finishing a project, researching an area of dentistry you like, doing whatever it might be, volunteering more and integrating like Cece's experience working in ICU. Yes, you're learning lots about how medical ward works and how medicine works, but actually you've got the dental aspect on, you've got those dental glasses on.
So you can put that extra bit in.
Yeah,
everyone else hasn't got. And it really helps benefit the entire team.
Yeah, exactly, because mouthcare, as we said, is so important with patients who are looked after in hospitals, in ICU. You get dry mouth, you're ventilated, you're high risk of aspiration pneumonia. But did you know that until you went on to the ICU and you started seeing these patients? Did you know what proning was? I had no idea what proning was.
Oh my gosh, no, I had no idea what proning was. And then I had to do it and I was like, okay, cool. I'm doing this now.
What is
it? Do you want to
it?
explain what proning is? You
have to flip the patient onto their front instead, and it helps them breathe a bit better, and it can also stabilise their
We don't do that on a dental chair. That's a fact. I've never done that.
It is a last
You won't be able to access.
It is one of the last interventions that you do before someone passes. So it's not a pleasant part to be part of that team. But we have had FDs not find it very pleasant and going a little bit of
you know what, Assis, I want to ask you in a second. I want to ask you about what your real have you seen some not particularly wonderful stuff? Actually, I've just realized it's nearly 8 o'clock, guys. We haven't done this on a Thursday night because it's Thursday night for 8 o'clock, right? And you guys all work in the NHS. I don't, but do you think we should all have a round of applause for half a minute?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's a rubbish Zoom call, but should we have a go? Let's do it. It's 8 o'clock.
But I can hear outside my neighbours again.
Yeah, too. And I just heard it for a second. I was like, we've definitely got to do this. And the reason why we haven't done this is because generally it's been a really deep and meaningful with Barry. And last week, actually, is a guy called Mahmoud Nauji. He's a wonderful guy. You need to look back and watch that. Anyway, worst Zoom call ever if we just clap our way through it, right? Everyone's like, what is all of that? I'm really sorry if you're watching, by the way, and you're like, somebody's asleep next to you or something. They definitely aren't anymore. Go on, Assis. I don't want to, I don't want it to be too sad, but I mean, if it has been sad, tell us. What's it been like?
I think the first day was probably the weirdest, just because I had no idea what a ward was or anything. And I think the first time I saw a patient on a ventilator and like some alarms started going off, I was like, oh my God, what do I do? And then I was like, okay, there's nothing I can do, but I'm just gonna do what I can. So I kind of laid back while I kind of stayed back while all the doctors and the ADPs and the nurses all rushed towards. And I was like, okay, I'm not helping that situation, but I can help look after everyone else. So it's kind of finding that balance where you're like, okay, I can't do everything. I know I can't, but I'm not trained to do that anyway. So it's accepting what skills you have. And I think I was quite prepared for it in terms of I knew what it would be like a little bit, but no matter how much someone tells you what it's going to be like, seeing someone in that state really does kind of kind of humbles you in a way and kind of just makes you very appreciative for everyone that looks after them.
Definitely gives you a wider insight into, just as you were saying to Nat a second ago. One of the other things, actually, I just wanted to read something out. I'll do it anonymously because he hasn't given me permission to, but Drew got a really awesome message today, which he forwarded to me. One of the context of it is that this chap is a DFT in West London scheme. And he said he watched the Tubules dental student symposium the other day, and the range of content and topics were really insightful. I really enjoyed your lecture on personal mastery, and I wish that you'd continue past the allocated time slot. I think one of the things that this is definitely doing is making people, like you said, Nat, much more reflective, definitely looking at and appreciating having one foot outside your world. Because I do remember being a DFT, VT then, and it was just go, go, go. I really had no concept of the greater, wider world out there. I was on my own little mission in my own little tunnel. And yeah, actually, now's the time to do that. I think we're going to produce another generation of DFTs, DCTs, DCD2s, whatever else you call them, who are just a bit more rounded, hopefully a lot more rounded, don't you think?
Yeah. And I must add that this whole talk about personal mastery, the webinar, probably been one of my favorite webinars this lockdown.
They're not called webinars, they're called live togethers, but yeah, we'll let you off.
And ever since sort of I had, it came from Zach actually, where he first introduced us to the topic about becoming a linchpin, etc., etc. It really makes you sort of take a step back and think about your whole purpose going forwards rather than just being go, go, go. And for me, that's
and not just go, go, go in clinical either.
Yeah, so I think recently, actually, one of the things that I've always enjoyed doing is teaching. And obviously, when you're in Max Factor or in any kind of dental job, you're generally focused on the clinical side of things, unless you're in a teaching role like you were, Zach. But because we've obviously had slightly less time in work, with kind of the way that on-call rotas work, we've been doing teaching sessions between us, the DCTs. So on a Tuesday and a Thursday, although not this Thursday, each of us will take a lecture topic and then we'll present over Skype or Zoom a topic that we're talking about. And just looking at the presentations that I've done over that time, the quality has gone right up. And I've got to the point now where I've got lectures that I can use going forward, when I'm a registrar or, when you're actually, being asked to teach people. Because when you're a DFT or a DCT 1 or 2, you're not necessarily thinking about that. But if you're going down the specialty training route, it's coming for you. I'm sure Nat can say you probably have to do your fair share of teaching. And if you have those skills and you've built them up a little bit, it's so much more helpful. Not to mention the fact that the amount that I've learned writing these lectures. Because if you're going to stand up in front of a group of people and talk about a topic for 40 minutes, you really want to understand it, so you don't look like an idiot. And I found that having this time to just work on those skills and to indulge that a little bit, it's really grown a part of my career that I really enjoy, but haven't had so much time to do.
Yeah. Talking of blogging, writing, mentoring, coaching, and all that. Nat, you've been doing this pre-COVID. You were the pioneer in dentistry, writing a blog. Let's be honest, not quite, but I mean close enough. I don't know anybody that kept a blog on for as long as you have, for sure. Do you think that's something that more people should be doing, expressing themselves and looking for different outlets and using this time for other things like that?
Definitely. Not for any personal growth, but if you are thinking of further training, we're going to have to rethink about how people are recruited to training posts. So traditionally, especially if anyone's recently applied to specialty training, if you look at how they rank people, how they mark them, it's like, how many presentations have you done? How many publications have you done? We can't do presentations at conferences right now, and who knows when we will, because even when things go back to normal, should we be going to conferences? Should we be taking study leave when there'll be a backlog of a lot of patients to see? So people won't have that experience, or that traditional kind of tick box is what people usually use to be able to recruit onto dental core training or specialty training. So if you have other strings to your bow, if it not only shows that you're a well-rounded person, especially if you, when I started writing, I was like, I'm just going to see what things are like. And I look back at my first blog post, I'm like, oh my God, what's going on there? But now it comes so much easier to me. So when people ask me to write things, I'm like, yeah, I can dispatch it out much quicker. My writing style, it's just built my confidence. And if anyone wants to look at that, it also reflects the journey of my whole dental career so far. So whether it's starting your own blog, whether it's starting your YouTube channel, whether it's being responsible on Instagram or social media, but a way that you can use to show yourself as and your creative outlet, but maybe to help others, because we just need to be able to talk about, have these conversations and feel supported of each other.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Can I just come in there about recruitment? So the recruitment for specialty has started. The preferencing is open. There is a self-assessment form at the moment. But there is, because everyone has pretty much done the same thing this is what happens in DCT recruitment and specialty recruitment. Everyone has done the same thing, the same posts, they've been working towards the same curriculum. So it does take things like poster presentations, some being a co-author in some research, or just being involved in the research, or doing a blog like Natalie's talking about that differentiates you. So this year, what they're doing with the specialty recruitment is there are white spaces. So there's 2 boxes, white space questions, and they're usually about what you've done that's different. That's the only chance you're going to get to express something different. And when you have someone matched in scores, because they've all done a neat portfolio, they've all done 6 months of MaxFact, they've all done 6 months of PEDS, and they want to get into whatever it is, ortho or whatever.
Everybody looks the same on paper.
Yeah,
everybody.
So they've now got the white space. So they're now using white space to differentiate between people. And that's what Natalie is talking about. The blog, getting involved in working groups, something you can extra put in the academic posters. That is what goes in the white space.
Hey, and collaborate and pipe up and actually just be proactive. Like, again, I don't want to say his name, but the chap that messaged you earlier today said, what can I do to get involved? Hey, do you know what? If you're watching this and you want to get involved, drop something in the live chat and we'll come back to you and we'll see if you can present something on Nat's blog.
Can I share this now?
Shoot.
Can I just quickly share that now?
Yeah, share. Whilst you're doing that, just whilst it's loading up for 2 seconds, I just want to say, Huma, your question, hello Tarun, by the way, your question about DFTs and to Sumer, what do you think about employment opportunities once your contract as a DFT finishes? That's one of the main questions we're coming to in a second. So probably leads on from what Sumer wants to say, right? What's this graphic, mate?
In terms of this is from the curriculum that was published in 2016 by Copden. This is a DCT curriculum, and the numbers haven't changed that much. We have less than 1,000 now. We have about 880 that are doing foundation training every year that come through the undergraduate colleges in the UK. Of that, you get about half, so we get 400 going into DCT. And what's changed since this was published is that you can go into DCT straight after foundation, or the year after that, or even if you're lucky, the year after that. And a lot of people that apply for DCT, they preference themselves out of jobs. So those who have to do, who won't only want to do ortho, or only want to do PEDS jobs, or only want to do restorative jobs, there's very few hospitals in the country that are teaching hospitals and have those kind of positions, restorative positions, for example. So if you put MaxFact down, you're much more likely to get a job, for example, because everywhere does MaxFact, and everywhere at all district general hospitals, example.
And MaxFact best as well.
So yeah, absolutely. But into DCT2, it's a bit more competitive. So again, you got half, say about 200 people get in. DCT3, I don't know how long that's going to be around for. I know that they're recruiting about 70 people this year, but I suspect that next year they may not have DCT3 because it's very expensive. And specialty training, you can see there, that involves NTN numbers, but those numbers there are for the NHS salaried positions. There are also mono specialties for people who've been in practice, can't take the UDA treadmill anymore, and decide to pay and do a part-time prosthodontic or endodontic masters, MCLIN, then, and they do an MLD, and they get on a specialist list as well, but they pay for it themselves.
So that's going forward. How do you think people's approach to it might be? Because that was presented in a very pyramid. If I get up to the top, then aren't I great, right?
Yeah.
But
no, but you can see that most people come out after DCT with special interests. So the majority of people don't go up. They come out at the DCT with special interests. There was a myth in the past that DCT de-skills you as a general practitioner, and it makes you less attractive as an associate. But that really is for the Nash bashing type of jobs that we used to have back in Zach's day and my day. We used to have these Nash.
Not that old, mate.
Yeah, all right, your day. We had these Nash bashers that had to just bash out as much NHS dentistry as possible. Those jobs aren't for people. The type of jobs that people who've gone into DCT come out for, they're not looking for those type of jobs.
Do you think there'll be more people going into tier 2 jobs going forward, Sam, if they can get all the accreditation sorted out?
What everyone needs to Google ADC, Advancing Dental Care. This is a Health Education England YouTube video, ADC.
It was a good read.
How they want to change careers to make it easier for people to switch between specialties. So you're doing the modules, because a lot of this, so for example, oral medicine and oral pathology, microbiology, that nearly 80% of their curriculum is identical. So they don't understand why they have 2 specialties in that. So they're doing a review of all the specialties at the moment. But it is interesting times. It is because things are changing. They may change. For now, DFTs going into DCT, like I said, you've got a 50-50 chance of getting it, because out of 800 or so, 400 or so will get it. And a lot of people will preference themselves out because they want to live with mum and dad or near mum and dad, or they only want to do specifically restorative. So the likelihood is if you put max back down, you'll get a job. In terms of going into practice, no one knows what general practice is going to look like for 6 months. So I had this talk with my VTs in the next, this morning in their tutorial, because most of them want to go into general practice and they've been looking at contracts of employment. So you've got to make sure those contracts of employment don't tie you down to only getting paid by UDA, especially in the first 3 to 6 months, when we will all possibly be open and working like the urgent dental care centres, seeing one patient every 2 hours because you need an hour in between.
I'm going to put something out there, Tim. You're a business owner, aren't you?
I have 3 of them, yeah.
Yeah. So from what I've gathered from these live togethers with the principals, with the associates, if we're going to try and tie this conversation together and make it relevant for people in their DFT year who might be looking for an associate position going forward, the conversation that I've sort of ascertained is that basically life's going to be much more difficult as a principal afterwards. Let's be really honest. The business strategist said percentage recalibration. Okay, and we know what that means. That means that you're not as worth as much as you once were. Okay. Though it isn't necessarily something to be scary about. I completely agree with what GURPS you said about distancing yourself from the norms. If you're sitting here watching this, 6 weeks into lockdown at 8:14 p.m, you probably are somebody who's going to head down that road of being a linchpin rather than just being your average associate. But the truth is that principals are going to struggle to fund practicing life, their businesses. So is it true to say that principals will be doing more clinical work themselves? And might it be that, let's say, if you're 10 years into your career as an associate, and let's just talk private practice for a second, okay? If you had a 4-day-a-week position that you were fairly stable in, you had a really solid list, but you're looking post-COVID thinking, actually, my working life probably won't be that jam-packed in one practice. Might I need to hedge my bets and be reducing my days there? Or might it just be a given that I have to reduce my days to 1 or 2 days a week in my existing private practice position? Might it be that to sustain my income, I need to actually be looking at other associate positions out there?
NHS.
To negotiate. Yeah, maybe. And so, or maybe, let's be really honest, the NHS, the GDS contract might change. I'm speculating, obviously, dramatically. Don't write this down and say that I said so, but it might be that
Zach said it.
Yeah, but it might be that core service or something along those lines does evolve, because let's be really honest, I'm going to speculate even further. COVID-19 might be the ultimate excuse for the health service, for the Department of Health. There's
no doubt. I don't want to take over the conversation. I know.
No, not me. I've already had my 3-minute monologue, but go on.
There's no doubt that the CDO has already mentioned that there's 2 things she wants to use this opportunity to make better. One is she's thinking about bringing in contract reform, so all associates will be salaried anyway. So like the GPs get paid their contract, our practices as providers, I'll get paid my contract, and it's up to me to then salary the associates who deliver the care for those patients.
I'm going to put an opportunity out there for you then.
Under a capitation scheme. But then I want the best associates to do that, because as a practice owner, I don't want to have to sit there and do all that myself. Now, I make most of my money privately doing elective dentistry, small makeovers, implant dentistry, bridges, whatever, implant bridges and crowns. And I don't make a large percentage of my own income doing UDAs myself. But I do have a UDA target and I do have to hit it. And that's what gives me credibility with my FDs as someone who does NHS dentistry still.
I'm going to put something out there then.
Go on.
sorry to interrupt, but I'm going to put something out there. Might it be that your DFTs in your crew and around the country and whomever else is watching this actually needs to use this as an opportunity to say, do you know what? If I find the right mentor, I find the right principal, I don't need to think of associateship in the old-fashioned percentage-based model that it used to be. I maybe need to look at this as an opportunity to put something out, to put something out there and you know, pitch yourself and say, hey, I'll be your apprentice. Because let's be really honest, if it's salary based and it's on a similar level to what Brian and Nat were earning as a DCT1 or DCT2, a couple of years out of university with a similar skill set and similar level of training, actually that could be a win-win for everybody through this next couple of year period. For everybody to go,
good thing is if the salaries are all going to be around the same, so you may be looking at maybe £50 an hour, so 250 to 350 a day, depending on your experience and how much they're getting out of you.
Yeah.
If you're looking at that, the salaries are the same, then you have the choice to go and choose the practice that's right for you.
Damn right. And
choose
you know what?
Mentor, choose the boss that's right for you. Someone you click with.
Interview both ways. Don't we always say? Don't walk into an interview shitting yourself. Walk into an interview going, I'm going to interview you too, without being a boss too big for your boots.
Yeah.
But you know, you're trying to find a mutually beneficial relationship that might work. And you've got to sometimes kiss a lot of frogs to find somebody that might be your prince right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not true. You've been with Mike for about 500 years. So.
Whilst private dentistry isn't going to take off suddenly when we go back to practice, it may take a year to get back to the levels it was pre-COVID. You want to be in a practice that is geared up towards doing that.
Yeah.
And ready
a forward-thinking practice.
Yeah.
What do you think it might mean, Nat? What do you think? What conversations are you having with your mentees, with people because you do a lot of coaching, don't you?
Yeah. A lot of my coaches, it's all feel very uncertain. I've coached quite a few students who are UK students, but they might have graduated from Europe, so they're not quite used to the system. They might feel a little bit alienated because they don't feel in part of the same cohort as the rest of the people on their schemes, and then they're thrown into this unknown system, and now this has happened, and it doesn't help sometimes when. If you're someone who takes time to build relationships with the people who mentor you, and they might be a slightly different generation or different people who have mentored you throughout your university career, that's kind of been curtailed a little bit depending on how supportive your ES is. So they might feel pressurized into finding a salary job, or then it's like, oh, when do I start looking for associate jobs? But we just don't know when that's going to be, because now, even if you're applying for an associate job to start in September, I would still say now is pretty early to look if it was normality.
Well, ask GURPS, because he sent me a draft version of his CV the other day and said, what do you think, Zach? And I went, great, GURPS, I've got some suggestions here and here. And in classic proactive fashion, he got back to me about 3 minutes later and he'd made all the edits that I suggested, because he's on it as always. But do you know, what did I say to you, GURPS? It's way too early, isn't it?
It's too early to do anything. No one knows what's happening.
We don't know what Boris is going to say on Sunday.
Exactly. Nobody knows. Yeah. Even then, we don't know what the stage plan through coming out of lockdown might look like.
Dentistry is not going to be one of the first ones to open back up.
Almost certainly, but under promise yourself, and then let's hope something might happen sooner than we expect. But no matter what situation you find yourself in, what might it mean for DCT1s? So might it mean that everyone's redeployed?
So they've got a lot of time to prepare. This is a good thing that we're doing with our FDs. So everything that they can do that isn't clinical, they are doing. So they're doing lots of audits, they're doing lots of reflection, lots of tutorials and case-based discussions with their practices. They're in the practices doing the emergency triaging, and those that get an opportunity are actually going into urgent dental care centres and working with the full PPE and hot sites and cold sites with their ESs. The same way DCTs have been redeployed, everything that comes up in their curriculum that isn't clinical requirement, they can actually get on and do, because everyone's got lots and lots of time on their hands. So all the stuff that used to be a pain, all their coursework, audits, research, they've got time to do it. And if they spend the time doing it, they will then, when they go up the ladder in that white space, they'll have lots to put in there.
Yeah, and now's like I've said in a couple of live togethers over the last few weeks, if you haven't got time right now, you're lying. If that was your excuse, it's just that it isn't up your street, which is completely okay. You know, like if you just heard the word write a blog from Nat and you're like, I can't think of anything worse. Cool. Do you know what? You found something you don't like, which is just as good as finding something you do like. Try and now find something, explore something else to see what doors open up. Sorry, Ryan, I jumped on that and interrupted.
I just thought I've got to make this plug now. Talking about the blank space stuff. So there's a Dentinal Tubules student and BF1 essay prize, and the topic is how can digital technology be used to improve education? And I feel like there's no better time than now to think about that.
Get it done.
And if you enter it and you win, that's an essay prize. That's a box ticked on an application somewhere. And also you get to come to both of our conferences for free. So, you know.
Wicked. What a great little opportunist you are. Well played. And you've given Drew an idea, by the way, Nat. He's just said in the chat there that he's thinking of doing some e-posters. So watch this space for Tubules e-posters instead of face-to-face posts. We need to innovate. Everybody does throughout this. One other thing that I wanted to shout out is somebody who I know watches most of these, and hopefully he will. Jazz Galati, if you're watching. Jazz has a podcast called the Intrusive Dental Podcast, and I was out running the other day and listening to his interference cast, he calls them, which is basically just Jazz doing a bit of like this, just jabbering away for a bit rather than interviewing a guest. But it was really worthwhile. It's about 15 minutes or thereabouts, and it was about finding the right associate position. And he's got some amazing gems in there and things that made me think, do you know what? I didn't even do that, and I thought I was pretty proactive, and I was trying to be out there as a DFT going on associate position. So, you know, you've got to spread your wings and think differently a little bit. I actually, back in the day, this might resonate with you. I plotted my location map of where I wanted to work. I went on the CQC website and I went, I want to know which practices are in this location. I went on all I think they had websites then. I'm not sure I had Facebook pages, but I went, I'm going to choose all these practices. I ranked them from 1 to 10. And I wrote a handwritten note to every one of them, a handwritten letter, because I wanted to prove that it was something different than just printing it off of a computer. And sent my CV and portfolio, and there you go, got some jobs.
Yeah. That's exactly how it's done still. People know where they want to live. They look for the best practice in that area, and they just send CV. And
they didn't write it handwritten though.
No.
You just said innovate.
You're definitely showing your age there.
Innovate by writing a letter.
Hey, do you know what? Sometimes going old school is innovation. Things go around in circles.
It might be unique.
That's right. I'm going to get my wax stamp out for the bank back as well, like proper old school.
I've got my Nintendo SNES out, so.
No, it's quite interesting what you just said there about people based on where they want to work and where they live. I think that's a really good point. But actually, for me, it's always been, I've always just chased the job that I wanted wherever it was and kind of moved around. And that might be something that people who are...
Well, and that's part of the growing up and professionalism stuff that people, if they don't get it during foundation, they still feel like they're going to go and work, if they still, feel like they have to go and live with mum and dad because they're not going to be financially viable as associates.
Yeah,
they still will want to go and live near mum and dad or with mum and dad, or they may have girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, wives that they want to, who've got other jobs. So location does play a part. But you're right. If you're chasing a certain skill set or a certain person to learn from, you won't care about the location.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm trying to say is, for people who are applying to things now who may end up or not end up, but may get offers from places that are slightly outside of where they maybe thought they were going to be. If it's just for a year, I've learned so. I've had so many.
Take the opportunity.
Moving around. It's the whole. I've spoken to Zach about this before. It's the whole SWOT analysis thing: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Try and think about. Yes, it's a threat that you may have to move. It may be a weakness or whatever. But try and flip it on its head and just think: what can I learn about? Living in a different part of the country, seeing a different way of working, doing things. I mean, you'll probably never get a chance to work in a hospital environment in the same way as we are right now.
Yeah.
Again. So
go on, right?
No, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted some of the most rounded people that I've ever worked alongside or worked with in a clinic or in, let's say, even known as a person. The most rounded people, the most fun, the people that get it. Sometimes you meet somebody you're like, they just get it, and I really love being around them.
Yeah.
The people with the broadest horizons are the ones who know themselves better. And if you have given yourself lots of opportunities to test the water, to go, I'm going to go down that little hole. Oh, I don't like it. It smells. I'm going to go down this one. Oh, that sounds quite fun. And let's see what branches it leads me onto. Oh, I met some cool people. Hey, he said, come shadow with me. So I ended up doing the day there. Why not? You know, doors open for you. And it becomes less about your technical know-how. And I think that's something that will happen through this process of post-COVID. People will appreciate it's not about your technical know-how so much. It's not about your numbers. It's about who you are as a person.
Yeah, character.
And yeah, your character goes an awful long way, doesn't it? What does Drew and I always say? We always say, slow bake it, don't fast fake it. There's no point trying to fake your way to the top, because you're going to get caught out. You're going to look like a mug. And you might as well just take your time. It's okay if you get paid a salary position for the next couple of years. You know, you have to rein it in. Let's just accept that you aren't going to be driving a super fast car like all your mates thought you would be graduating in dentistry. That's okay. Just suck it up for a bit and go, now's my opportunity to just find the right people around me. Yeah. And that will be your net worth in the future. Your network is always your net worth. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing I quite like to say there is that it's not a you take this or you do that. It's not a you do DCT or you do associate. Why not do both? I did both. I worked as associate at the weekend, and then I did dental core training. But that is keeping my options open. And that might be something that we all have to look forward to in the future, because we can't see as many patients, we don't need as many people doing clinical work. So does that mean that we need to split our time more between environments and find alternative things?
I have heard that today. The Associate Dean for Specialty and DCT has said that, along with the Associate Dean for Foundation, that we might go to a 7-day working week for DCT and FD, and we might, so DCTs will have opportunities to do other things within the hospital and in primary care.
Hey, people in primary care and private practice are going to be doing it as well, because it's inevitable that with limited chair time opportunity, lots of vacancy periods because of virus and whatever else.
There are opportunities coming up to broaden your horizons, to expand your repertoire of what you've seen and what you've experienced.
Pipe up to some local clinics and go, you know what? You know, you've got chair time available on a Saturday and a Sunday. Here I am.
Yeah.
And you'll find yourself a position. I absolutely guarantee it.
That's what medical school. I'll need all the money that I can get, so weekend work for me is ideal.
Yeah, you're going to be loving it. You're going to be rinsing the access centres for the next 3 years, mate. Or is it 4 years? 4 years.
Extirpation king, yeah.
There's a question about shielding FDs who are living with...
What's the question? Oh, Nabil, yeah. Go on, call out the question then, Sim.
No, GURPS can do that. He's shielding.
So the question is, what advice would you give to
someone at home that needs to
shield due to a condition they or somebody live with has? Also considering this when looking forward for associate positions, what advice would you give?
I think there's a lot of flexibility in terms of the roles that you can do to help out with redeployment. One of the roles that some people in my scheme are starting to do are triaging from home.
Yep.
So that's connecting with the 111 call center, and you're taking calls from home. And I think the main thing is that you're volunteering. I think there is a lot of fear that you're getting pushed into something that you don't want to do. The options are there. You can pick, if you're not comfortable seeing patients with COVID or being in a hospital, there's always the option of saying that you're willing to do 111. And that's how you might want to contribute towards this. Initially, there was this fear that you're being pushed into doing something that you don't want to do, but I very much assure you that that's not what's happening.
Yeah, that culture of bullying the FDs and telling them that they're not going to finish foundation training if they don't volunteer, that's wrong. I know that's happened a few places. It's just not right. It is a volunteering thing, and we're doing everything as Health Education England, at least in Thames Valley and Wessex, I know, we're doing everything we can to get them through. We've reduced our requirements to make sure that most of them have, so they apportion them for the time that they have been in clinic, to make it, so most of us will get through.
You know, I'm going to put something out there, and actually it came up in planning this. Thank you guys for your time with this live together tonight. I think one of the things that's inevitable after university is that you still live in this little bubble where you're afraid. You graduate being told you can't, no, don't do that, don't, stop and just check, refer, you can't do that. And do you know, it's wise to obviously be calm, assured, and take your time with things. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that most people in a training position are afraid of they're mentors in some way. Maybe if you are afraid of that person, maybe they're not your mentor.
Yeah.
Maybe actually in private practice and out there in the real world, what I found is that you can select the people who are around. Don't be afraid to say yes or no to somebody just because they're older than you and they think they've been there and done that. I think one of the things that dentistry has done wrong over the years is that it's been built, and we say this so often, it's been built on a culture of being afraid of being replaced. And so what happens is the people that you think of as up there at the top of the pyramid, the people that have done all the specialty training like Nat will have done and Ryan will have done, sometimes fingers crossed, sometimes the culture has been that you have to kick the juniors because that's what you had to go through when you were making it up your way up the pyramid. And do you know what? That's just based on a culture of fear, and it's not based on abundance thinking. What we always say, share because you want to share.
It's very old school training that way.
But do you know what you'll find out there in the real world is that it doesn't happen. It's very much, Frank Goulbourne, shout out if you're listening, probably not, because probably not the right audience for this, but Frank Goulbourne's a clinician, a practice principal, and he always says, they're not my associates, they're my colleagues.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's exactly the culture that we need to have. Nat, Ryan, when you're consultants, don't shit on your juniors, yeah?
Yeah, I actually had a consultant once who in front of a patient said, we were talking to your colleague just now, and said, he's not my colleague, he's my SHO.
Yeah.
He's my minion who writes my notes, he's my glorified slave. Yeah, great. No, do you know what? That culture needs to go. And the sooner we can spread more positivity about how dentistry should be, the better. If you just finalizing things up, because it's 8:30 and I know Sim needs to go. If you've got any final questions, chat them in the live chat box, please. Guys, any final thoughts?
I think just the key thing that I wanted to get across to this whole thing was the whole strengths and weaknesses approach. It's obviously a really difficult time for everyone, and that even if you're not necessarily working clinically, it's still a difficult time. The uncertainty of everything, and I think it's important to acknowledge that and accept that, but also to think that in every difficult situation is a potential for much greater growth. And I think reframing it, even if you don't fully believe it initially, just give it a try and then do something that you didn't think you could do before, try something a bit different and push your boundaries in different ways. I think you'll be amazed. And I find even personally that the things that you can grow and achieve when you have different constraints placed upon you, it's a chance for growth, this, as well as a time to reflect.
Too right. Anybody got any other thoughts whilst I just reach for something? Because it's, Ryan, what you just said just made me think of a book that I didn't finish not too long ago, but by Adam Grant called Originals. It's about being different. It's about how nonconformists change the world. And do you know what? You ain't going to change dentistry because that's pretty difficult. But do you know what? You might change your world, and you might change the world for the people around you. And if you do things differently, like Nat did, like Ryan's doing, like Summer's doing for his crew, and I know Gurpreet's doing because you're writing blogs, and Assis is redeployed and looking at the world a different way. You've got to think outside your world to be better inside your world. That is really the take home, I think.
Absolutely.
Nikita Joshi says, what an amazing, insightful Tubers Live. Thank you, everyone. We've had a couple hundred people. Do you know what? I knew this was going to be the case. The live chat's been really, really quiet because, like I just said, so many people in their undergrad years and in their DF1 and DF2. Do you find this amongst, you can't say DF2 anymore, can you?
No.
Yeah, do some eye twitching.
I'm going to fix that for you. Don't worry.
DFT, DCT, it's all nonsense anyway. They can change it in another 5 years. What's the point? Do you know the thought process needs to change throughout those years. And don't be afraid, guys. Pipe up, get in touch. If you want to be part of Nat's blog, if you want some advice from Nat, from mentoring, coaching, if you want Sim's advice as a TPD, you want Ryan's advice, get in touch with us. We'll put you in touch. And if you want to be part of Tubules Live together, that's how Gurpreet and Assis are here tonight. So what have you got to lose?
Absolutely. It's always fun. Thank you very much, everyone. I know everyone does have to carry on to do some of their personal responsibilities, so I appreciate the time, Gurpreet, Assis, Natalie, Samir, Ryan. It's just phenomenal to hear these things. Think outside the box. Two things I've always lived my life with, and those are hashtags you can take with you. One is #1Rebel Without a Cause. Hashtag to piss him off. Piss him off. Yeah. Hashtag to piss
You
him
love
off.
that one. Drew actually genuinely says that to me quite often. Piss them off. If you piss people off enough, do you know what? Sometimes you get noticed. Don't always do that because then,
Either they'll get pissed off or they'll listen to you and realize that they were the wrong ones. 90% of the time, in my experience, second thing has always worked. So keep doing it. Challenge people. That's what you end up doing. Challenge people. I like people who piss me off because they challenge me, and it's my motto in life.
That's how I ended up here.
Don't do that with your associate deans, TPDs, and everyone. Respect them.
Be respectful. Be respectful. I heard something by Dr. Drew Shah the other day, and he said piss you off. So I'm here to piss you off. Quote.
On that amazing imitation by Zach, who gets better by the day on television. We have all had a great time. In isolation, we continue to be remaining together. Tomorrow's the last Tubules Live Aid of the Everyday series, the Geek Out Gang at 2:30 with Tidu Manku talking about recession in Manku, talking about recession.
He's not going to let you live that down tomorrow.
No, I'm not going to leave that. That was a slip of tongue, not really. But recession. He's talking about recession and management of gums. And then for a Saturday, 5:30 p.m.
Yeah.
in LA. We have some fun stuff planned. We've kept people.
We've got some awesome stuff planned for Saturday night. You have to tune in.
Cool. The Geeking Out in Lockdown session does continue next week, but Tubules Live Aid on its own is calling it a day.
We out of here.
So, well, that's it. So while we are all in isolation, we still remain together. Have a great evening. It's goodbye from all of us.
Take care.
Thank you.